And of course, since then, many others have come and preached and what have you, but Prabhupada was the one who really set everything in motion. So today we're remembering on this day when Vishnu Jan Prabhu said to me last night, we were out there looking for his hat. He lost his hat in the middle of the night. Yeah, no, I was with you when you found it. But he left his hat somewhere in the bushes. So we were looking for his hat last night. And he said, tomorrow's a very sad day. And then he said, it's also a very joyful day. It's both, isn't it? And this is the nature of separation. This relationship where you feel naturally, emotionally sad. And tonight you'll be singing, actually this evening in Prabhupada's room, after the arti, devotees who are here, some devotees will be going for Harinam in the streets of Tour. Is that right, Shantatma? Yes. Everyone who wishes to go is most welcome. You may have to have a car to go with. It's difficult to go on bullock cart to tours. And we were, last last Saturday I was in Florence in Italy, and the devotees were doing Harinam Sankirtan in the shopping mall, right in the middle of the shopping mall, big shopping mall. Security agents were just waving at us. Nobody bothered, storekeepers waving in Italy. And as we were about to leave, to get in the cars, one of the policemen who was with a security officer came up and said, "Why are you coming in cars? You people should be coming in bullock carts," he said. Quite amazing, huh? Well, we know why we're going in cars. We can also go in bullock carts. Prabhupada liked them. But if you want to go for the Harinam today, if you want to go by bullock cart, you better start 4 days ago. But if you want to go 2:30 leaving to Tour on behalf of Srila Prabhupada, it's only because of Prabhupada that we're going on the street, that's for sure. And they may miss the evening program, but this evening there will be Arti and Damodar has to come, and then followed, because 7:35 or 25, can't remember. Something like that is the exact time when Srila Prabhupada in India, in Vrindavan, departed. Was it 25 or 35?
26.
20, 7:26 and 36 seconds. Get right down to the point. But about 7:26 on that evening, November the 14th. November the 14th, 1977. When Srila Prabhupada wound up his manifested pastime, so to speak, in this world, and remains always in his unmanifested forms, which we'll try to discuss a little bit later. Of course, to every disciple, and even those of the present day who didn't directly get initiated by Prabhupada, but they're in Siksha form, they're following Srila Prabhupada, he's their Siksha Guru, he's the Siksha Guru for everyone in this movement, and many who may identify with other branches of our Gaudiya line. They look to Srila Prabhupada as their Siksha Guru, their inspiration, their life force to help propel us forward in Krishna consciousness. So on that moment, of course, it was a great moment of heartbreak and, whatever you want to call it, of disciples all over the world, and sympathizers and friends and so on. And to this day, of course, that same emotion amongst anyone who's in this mission may feel. At the same time, it's a glorious event, which brings us closer, reminds us of our real business, when we meditate upon this, and try to perform, try to act upon it. And when we embrace Prabhupada's legacy, when we embrace his unmanifested form, which he's left, there's a very well-known verse, I don't know it, but it is well-known, how, the spiritual master brings the boat into this world to ferry us across, take us across the ocean of birth and death. And unlike a normal boat, which when it goes to the other side, is not on your side, it's on the other side. You missed the boat, so to speak. But the pure devotees of the Lord, when they come into this world, they certainly do provide the boat. They're also the captain of the boat. But the boat is still there. It's a spiritual boat. It's not measurable materially. It may be manifest or not. We may recognize it or not. But that boat is still there. Srila Prabhupada's shelter is still here today, as much as ever. His presence, we'll discuss later, is unmanifested presence to most people, but it's manifested by taking shelter of that boat which he's left us, and taking shelter of his guidance to ferry us or guide us across the ocean of birth and death, which is an insurmountable ocean in general. So this day we also, yesterday I was talking with, Gopaswami Prabhu was talking to me, and I was just asking him about Mother Yamuna, one of your dear devotees from France, who just passed away a couple of days ago, left her body in Chateauroux. And it was heartwarming to hear that at least 6 devotees were there chanting as she left her body. We normally say chanting for her, but Gopaswami Prabhu said actually she brought them together to chant. We may think we're chanting for Prabhupada or whatever, but it's a nice sentiment, but it's, in one sense, Prabhupada's bringing us together with those we would never chant in a million years. These events bring us together. They're essential. These, of course, from the Gaudiya Vaishnava point of view, the Tirobhav is recognized by disciples of the immediate Guru. Of course, it may be different, but in general, past acharyas, their Tirobhav is honored more emphasized than their appearance day. We don't follow that so much in ISKCON. Maybe in the future it will become like that. And this day will become extremely prominent. It's already prominent, but extremely prominent. It's the most important festival of the year, in many ways. The day that Prabhupada left everything for us. His life was, building up. The gifts that he gave us were left for us and left for everybody, whoever wants to take those gifts. He usually say that the acharya, when they depart, is the fulfillment of their devotion, but not recognized at the time of their birth in most cases. Although that's obviously for disciples, Vyasa Puja days. The most recognized day in many, you could say, but the actual departure day is the cream, the fulfillment of all of their lifetime devotion. And we'll try to touch on that a little bit too. So with that having been said, I don't know my computer, where is it? Is it possible to connect it to the screen or not? Any Rasikananda Prabhu, is it possible? We had the wonderful association about a month or so ago of Malati, one of the first disciples of Srila Prabhupada in America, when she came here, and she reminded us of some wonderful drops of nectar, you could say, call it what you will, but they are definitely very large drops of nectar. They're larger than the the drops, the raindrops that Indra tried to throw on Govardhana Hill. They're transcendental drops. Indra's drops were measurable. These drops are not measurable. They're spirit drops from the spiritual world. She reminded us of some of those beautiful offerings to Srila Prabhupada. And if we can connect to the screen, it's not guaranteed we'll be able to. Nothing is guaranteed in this world, so to speak, except for nothing is guaranteed. It's guaranteed that nothing is guaranteed. And this may or may not work. What are the chances at the moment, Rasika?
50%.
50%? Oh, goodness. Sounds like a weather report. Is it something on the screen?
Yeah.
But is it going to stay on the screen?
Hopefully.
We are hoping. So let's hope we can keep on the right side of the fence and the 50% actually remains. Otherwise, we'll just do what we have to do. So this, well, I don't know if this is the first one or the second one. Let me see. I think it's the second one. We'll try. Now this one, I can't remember which one she reminded us of it. Oh, this isn't the one I'm looking for. Okay, I haven't got it. But I've got it somewhere else. Anyway, we'll have to sing these. She, Malati, mentioned a beautiful offering which was written on request of Sridhar Maharaj Prabhupada's godbrother, which I believe Govinda Maharaj, his disciple, wrote in glorification of Prabhupada. But this is another one. This is different. This is by Ananta Ramashastri. And some of those who were around in the 70s may remember that this was a regular. It was sung quite frequently by the Gurukul devotees also. It's a beautiful poem, which he joined ISKCON. He was a disciple of Prabhupada. He was a pandit, a very shastric Indian devotee. And he wrote this beautiful offering to Srila Prabhupada. So, and when she mentioned that other one, which I do have somewhere, I don't have it here now, then we looked and we found these other ones too. I don't know if we can sing it. Well, we'll see what happens. You can sing it in the tune of Brahma Samhita. Krishnayka Cheta Madhamoha Vinashakarin.
Krishnayka Cheta Madhamoha Vinashakarin.
Very slow. Krishnayka Cheta Madhamoha Vinashakarin. Krishnayka Cheta Madhamoha Vinashakarin. Madrishti Gochara Prabhu Prabhupada Swamin.
Madrishti Gochara Prabhu Prabhupada Swamin.
Dosha Viviti Paridushitamanda Buddhe.
Dosha Viviti Paridushitamanda Buddhe.
Sanchintayami Charano Tava Bhakti Heto.
Sanchintayami Charano Tava Bhakti Heto.
O my Lord and Master, O Prabhupada, may you always be the object of my vision. Only the name of Krishna can destroy my pride and illusion. Although my mind and intelligence are contaminated by wicked inclinations, I meditate upon your lotus feet in causeless devotion. Who's the button presser? Nobody. Buttons don't press themselves, usually, despite what the scientists say. Vrindavane Ramanareti Pasita Bhumo. Ramanareti Pasita Bhumo. Tatrapi Krishna Padarama Supadam Mule.
Tatrapi Krishna Padarama Supadam Mule.
Jnanam Param Parama Krishna Sudamikyatam. Tantastu Deva Prabhupada Namo Namaste. Prabhupada Namo Namaste. In the most holy land of Vrindavan, in Ramanreti, at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Balaram, you are preaching the topmost knowledge of the Supreme Personality, Lord Krishna, who is the fountainhead of religion. O Master of the senses, O my Lord Srila Prabhupada, let me offer my obeisances unto you. Namaste, Namaste, Kripapurna Drishti. Namaste, Namaste, Kripapurna Drishti. Namaste, Namaste, Mahanandra Datri.
Namaste, Namaste, Mahanandra Datri.
Namamo, Namamo, Punaraksha Raksha. Namamo, Namamo, Punaraksha Raksha. Vasida Prabhupada Mama Daksha Daksha. I offer my obeisances unto him, whose glances are full of mercy, and who is the bestower of transcendental bliss. O renowned Lord, protect and kindly shower your compassion again and again. Bhakti Siddhanta Shishaya, Bhakti Vedanta Namine, Prasanaya Prashantaya, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Bhakti Siddhanta Shishaya, Bhakti Vedanta Namine, Prasanaya Prashantaya, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Let me offer my obeisances unto my Guru Maharaj, who is a disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It shouldn't normally be translated, we have them to Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami, who is always calm and joyful, and who bears the name of Bhakti Vedanta. Ganga Bhumi Jana Bhushana Gora Lila, Shivanga Bhumi Jana Bhushana Gora Lila, Goranga Bhava Parisarana Matra Shila, Goranga Bhava Parisarana Matra Shila, Radha Madhava Pada Padma Manovilasi, Radha Madhava Pada Padma Manovilasi, Ananda Rashi Prabhupada Namo Namaste, Ananda Rashi Prabhupada Namaste. The land of Bengal is worshipable by the whole world because Sri Chaitanya performed his pastimes there. I offer my obeisances unto Srila Prabhupada, who is full of bliss. He is always in the ecstasy of Lord Gauranga and is therefore immersed in the lotus feet of Radha Madhava. I don't know if we can sing this one. This is another one by another disciple of Srila Prabhupada. This is an astakam which he compiled in glorification of Srila Prabhupada. Jai Sachinanda, another Bengali devotee, I believe. Oh, I don't know what the meter is for this. I don't know if I can sing this. Anyone like to render a tune other than just the Sanskrit repetition?
Sakala jivaya hiteratam sada gora padesham chakrakashati buddha.
You want to sing? That was nice. I like that.
Sakala jivaya hiteratam sada gora padesham chakrakashati buddha.
Sakala jivaya hiteratam. To give him the madanga. Give him the madanga. Do you want the madanga or kakao?
Sakala jivaya hiteratam sada gora padesham chakrakashati buddha.
Sakala jivaya hiteratam sada gora padesham chakrakashati buddha. Not always so is it. Mama Shayakam Yasya Padara Vindam Sri Bhakti Vedantam Anisham Prapatye. Mama Shayakam Yasya Padara Vindam Sri Bhakti Vedantam Anisham Prapatye.
Chana prema kam danda kinkaram Yajnimiti bhagavata
Ochana prema kam siddhanta kinkaram Achacha deshe bhagavatam
Namasaya kam yasya padara vindam Bhakti vedantam anisham prapatye.
Mama Shayakam Yasya Padara Vindam Sri Bhakti Vedantam Anisham Prapatye. Vechanandenadi Kritam Pravaditam Krishnopadesham Hi Bhagavate.
Mama Shayakam yasya padara vindam Bhakti vedantam anisham prapatye.
Mama Shayakam Yasya Padara Vindam Sri Bhakti Vedantam Anisham Prapatye.
Uriya Vaishnavanam Vishum Sajivanam Mahaprabhu Krishnam Vamishwaram Cha.
Gaudiya Vaishvanam Visham Jivanam Mahaprabhu Krishnam Rameshwaram Cha.
Mama Shayakam yasya padara vindam Bhakti vedantam anisham prapatye.
Mama Shayakam Yasya Padara Vindam Sri Bhakti Vedantam Anisham Prapatye.
Amasuridam Viptaram Prabhum Brahmamasarasam Bhagavatam Param Gurum.
Mama Suridam Me Pitaram Prabhum Mama Sarvasam Jagatam Param Guru.
Mama Shayakam yasya padara vindam Bhakti vedantam anisham prapatye.
Mama Shayakam Yasya Padara Vindam Sri Bhakti Vedantam Anisham Prapatye.
Long one. Yasishadasham Shubhanam Vijeshasam Parajatam Parajatam Saranyam.
Jayesha Dadasham Shobala Mechitasam Redikrupatam Saranyam.
Mama Shayakam yasya padara vindam Bhakti vedantam anisham prapatye.
Mama Shayakam Yasya Padara Vindam Sri Bhakti Vedantam Anisham Prapatye.
Vaya Hari Namaha Mahyam Duratma Deva
Yachanukampaya harinam nadatam gayantu atmane varantaya satyam. Mama Shayakam Yasapada Ravindam Sri Bhakti Vedanta Anisham Prabhaje.
Akila Pakam Samanam Shanukam Pavati Samanam
Takila Pagata Sarvampisidam Shanukam Bhaktitanam Tata.
Mama Shayakam Yasapada Ravindam Sri Bhakti Vedanta Anisham Prabhaje.
Mama Shayakam Yasapada Ravindam Sri Bhakti Vedanta Anisham Prabhaje. You have to sing this now.
All of it.
All of it, yeah. It's only 5 pages long. Thank you, that was lovely. I think with a little practice, it could be really beautiful. At every moment, I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose lotus feet are my only refuge. With great joy, he reveals to us the divine teachings of Lord Gauranga, and he is always engaged in spiritual welfare activities for the benefit of all living entities. He is our ever well-wisher. At every moment, I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose divine feet provide my only shelter from the rains of worldly illusion. As an umbrella, he is the sole refuge for a traveler in the storm. He is the revealer of the truth of Srimad Bhagavatam in the Western world. He is the humble servant of Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and his eyes are anointed with ecstatic love of God. At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose lotus feet are my only shelter. He is empowered by Lord Nityananda to propagate the teachings of Lord Krishna in the form of the Bhagavat Purana. At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the umbrella of whose lotus feet is my sole refuge. He is a brilliant moon among the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and the very life and soul of devotees throughout the world. He is very dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and is my divine Lord and Master. At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose lotus feet are my only shelter. He is my ever well-wishing friend, spiritual father and master. He is the end-all and be-all of my life, and is the exalted spiritual master of the entire world. At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the umbrella of whose lotus feet is my sole refuge, and His beautiful smiling gives joy to my heart. The places where He walks become holy sites of pilgrimage, and His lotus feet are to be taken shelter of by those who desire to attain the treasure of love of Godhead. At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose lotus feet are my only shelter. By His infinite kindness, the divine name of Sri Krishna has been bestowed upon me, although I am truly a wretched and sinful living being. At every moment I bow down to the feet of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the umbrella of whose lotus feet is my sole refuge. As all the rivers of the whole world flow toward the great ocean, so His compassion and mercy flow toward all fallen souls. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Well, I guess that's that for the PowerPoint for now. Is that okay? Wonderful. I don't know why.
It needs French translation.
That's going on over there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's going on. Yeah, if anyone needs, somebody can say in French, I suppose. Anyone like to say, if you need a French translation, please sit over here. Yeah, anyway, I guess everyone understands English. There was one, oh my goodness, what was that? I wish I'd mentioned it at the time. There was one statement. Is it still on the screen there?
Yeah.
Can we take it off? Why just plug it out, huh? Pull it
Big
out.
trees.
Trees, I don't know where those trees came from. That's the first time I'm ever seeing them on my screen. Yeah, I don't know where they came from. Trees, no, I don't know. They didn't look like heavenly planet trees to me. They looked more like boring Western trees of some kind. Trees, nonetheless. We can remember to our piece of history. I just looked it up, but there was one stanza there in that poem which I wanted to comment on, but I didn't want to break the reading. And the second one of the two, wasn't it? Come on. There we go. Yes, here it is. The places where he walks become holy places of pilgrimage. Prabhupada walked in many places, continues to walk, although it may not be seen, you could say, in the same way. But his preaching, his walking continues. We're just like we should try to be, walking on his behalf, carrying this message. I don't know exactly, you'll have read different translations or different commentaries, but I remember reading many moons ago, a book called God's Fool. It's a book which some of you may have read. It's a book on Francis of Assisi. Having just come from Italy, Assisi is quite close to our Villa Vrindavan property, an hour and a half drive only. And it's still to this day, Francis, I asked who's the most famous persons in history, and Francis of Assisi was Italian, though they brought it up. Francis of Assisi was a book about him, and one thing which stuck in my mind, and I'm not going to get the word for word, but the gist of it is that when one of his followers asking him, when we go to preach, should we walk? We heard about bullock carts earlier on. Traditionally, monks, they walk. Should we walk? He said, if your walking is not preaching, you shouldn't go anywhere. If your walking is not preaching, you should not go anywhere. In other words, everything we live for is to spread the message. It's not just we go to spread the message. Our going should be an act of the same mentality. Everything we do in life, our sleeping, our eating, our drinking, Prabhupada taught us that. There's a legacy which Prabhupada taught us. There are unlimited avenues we could look at. But this is one of them. Absolutely everything Prabhupada did, with gestures, movements, walks, talks, thoughts, interactions, you name it. Everything was simply to glorify Krishna, to put Krishna in the center, and to help us to realize that's what we're meant to do. I was talking this morning to Gopaswami Prabhu about how as we get older in life, it seems we feel like we're less of a devotee every day. So far from the mark sometimes. And he said, what to say, our culture, lack of culture. Lack of culture. I was hearing yesterday how Prabhupada was saying, it's almost inconceivable how devotees, whatever we want to call ourselves, coming from a culture, an upbringing of sense gratification. We were talking about it when we were looking at the translation of the Bhagavatam yesterday into French. How it's incredible, almost inconceivable how persons brought up in the Western world, or any world, come to that, but in a culture of complete sense gratification. Even remnants of purity are mostly directed towards fulfillment of material sense desires. Mostly. Give me this. I want this. We're so self-centered. So self-centered in our efforts. Now, of course, it's still there. It takes transformation time. But Srila Prabhupada, in everything, teaching us how to use the bathroom, how to take a bath, how to go to the, path, how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, how to prepare food. Just about everything is like a kind of real revolution. It's not just some, angry, what do you say, takeover. It's a complete change of culture. That's what Prabhupada said. This movement is a cultural revolution. It's not philosophy. Philosophy is part of it, but it's a cultural revolution. And all these, we may challenge all these various things, which we normally do. We challenge everything we can get our hands on. We challenge even things we can't get our hands on. The nature of this age particularly is to object, challenge, reject, no respect, no feeling of genuine repentance, and refusing to accept we're wrong. The list goes on and on and on. It's very unfortunate. Kali Yuga. In the midst of all this, Srila Prabhupada has entered in. And trying, at least giving the opportunities, giving that boat by which we can cross over, the lifeline to hook us out of this muck that we're in. Whatever we think it is. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Tapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Shvapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Padejana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Pastichade Shatane Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Garim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam. By the mercy of the spiritual master, even a lame person can cross mountains, a blind person can see stars in the sky, and a dumb person can recite beautiful poetry. Everything, in other words, by the mercy of the spiritual master, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada, one gets Krishna's mercy. There's no other way. I would appreciate a cup of water. Is there one nearby? Thank you. Well, there's three things which I wanted to enter into. One is, which I think I'll do now, is I'll just read some quotations of Srila Prabhupada on his mission and how he's still present with us today. And if time allows, we'll see how the offerings of devotees come along. If time allows, then we'll read some of in-between offerings or something, or discuss things. Or maybe, come to think of it, I think we'll do it the other way around, because reading is easy to fit in, whereas, say, digging into our hearts is not so easy to fit in between other presentations. So I like to just ask maybe the starters here, because I prepared whatever is a little bit here just before the Guru Puja there, and haven't prepared anything very systematic, but I thought that we could just think of how Prabhupada is still present with us today. I know we may say, oh, you're so lucky, devotees sometimes say, you were initiated by Prabhupada, you saw Srila Prabhupada, we're so unfortunate, we didn't see him. It's not, of course that is very fortunate, no doubt about that, very special to have had that opportunity, which we may not appreciate as much as we should, but nonetheless, as we heard, that Prabhupada is still present, and just, I'll give a little example, maybe some of you heard it, but about 2 months ago when I was in London, this one, she's a devotee, chanting, but no, she was an atheist, she was a complete atheist, this lady. She works for the Metropolitan Police, she's a detective in the Metropolitan Police. If you know that, that's the police force in London, detective. So you're an atheist. And she wrote and told me the whole story in the letter. And she was a follower of the Beatles in the music group, not these creepy crawly ones, the music group. And especially George Harrison. She has some liking from, many of the kids at that time, they were like, enthralled. She was in her late 50s, I think. Enthralled by the Beatles, So she heard that there was a garden, George Harrison garden at Bhaktivedanta Manor. She didn't know what Bhaktivedanta Manor was, some religious place. But she went to see the garden with her friend. Because they were, as we heard earlier on, wherever Prabhupada goes is a holy tirtha. So sometimes people have this sentiment about mundane people too. They go, they go to those places, maybe here in France on the beaches of Normandy or somewhere. Thousands of people come just for Remembrance Day or whatever it is, to remind us of those things. So she went there with her friend with no intention of, anything more than that, basically. And there was a tour going on of the manor, so they didn't know anything what it was about. So they just said, okay, we'll go for the tour. So the devotees took them on a tour around the manor. And then they came to Prabhupada's room. How many of you have been to Srila Prabhupada's room at Bhaktivedanta Manor? Half a dozen, maybe, or a little few more. And just like Prabhupada's room here, we don't, take advantage of it enough, may not sound the right term, but kind of that's what I mean. We don't take advantage of it enough. How many Prabhupada rooms where Prabhupada stayed are there in mainland Europe? How many? One. Here at New Mayapur. Yes, it's the only one in mainland Europe where Prabhupada stayed. Which is still there. Of course he stayed in other rooms, but they're not ISKCON property anymore. The building may not even be there anymore. The manor and here are the only two properties in Europe where Prabhupada stayed, which are ISKCON properties. Is extremely powerful presence there, because Prabhupada, like Krishna, reciprocates. He reciprocates. This is truly a tirtha. Whatever you say, we just heard that. It's a tirtha, it's a holy place. And anyway, this lady, she entered into Prabhupada's room with the tour, and she saw Prabhupada sitting there behind his desk. She had no idea who he was. She'd never heard of him before. Never read anything about Hare Krishna. Didn't know about him. Maybe seen him somewhere, but no interest whatsoever. But she couldn't leave the room. She sat there for ages, just looking at Prabhupada. And she was just thinking, who is this person? Who is he? And she just asked, who is this? This is something special. They explained a little bit. And she said, I have to find out more about this person. And she started to read. And she sat there reading about Prabhupada. And in her own words, she left that room a different person. Totally different person. No, nobody really said anything to her other than that. But her heart changed completely. And to this day now she's chanting 16 rounds. 1 year later. This is Prabhupada still preaching, converting, changing people's hearts. It's not gone. So that's one way that we can feel Prabhupada's presence in his room, in his deity. What other ways can we feel his manifested presence? Books. Tissue. Perhaps the most prominent thing which Srila Prabhupada left for the world, more now than ever before. When Srila Prabhupada was personally present, books were many, but now there are many more. In many more languages, being distributed in vast quantities. All over the world, the books are spread. They're also converting or changing people's hearts just by coming in contact with the books, isn't it? Most devotees will attest to the fact that they first contacted Krishna consciousness through the books or through the literature. I don't know about here in France, but in most countries where we ask that question, most devotees say their first connection was with a book. It was my first connection. I don't know about everybody here, but that's the most, it's non-different, it's Prabhupada. What did Prabhupada say about his books? Who can say something? Somebody like to say something?
I'll be present in my books for next 10,000 years.
Pardon?
I'll be present in my books in next 10,000
You could say like that. I don't know if he said those exact words, maybe he did. There certainly he said they're the law books for the next 10,000 years. And he said, I'm present within my books, so putting the two together you get the same statement. If you want to know me, Prabhupada said, read my books. Swamiji, please give me your blessings. Many times Indian people, sentiment, nice sentiment you could say. Swamiji, please give me your blessings. And Prabhupada did answer it sometimes differently, but in many cases he say, my blessings are in the books. You take these books and read them. What else do you say?
He said, I've said everything in my books.
I've said everything that you need. Everything I need to say is in my books. There's nothing needed more. Everything is there. We may not be able to read it. We may not see it. We skim over things, or we're blind, or we're reading it differently to what it says because we've got a preconceived kind of perception, you know. We're not open exactly. Eyes are covered. But everything's there in Prabhupada's books that you need. Everything to go back to Godhead is there. We may not see it, but it is there. What else did he say? Anything else?
He said, you will show your love for me by cooperating
It's a
together.
very famous statement, isn't it? It's not word for word, but it's a series of statements on the same subject matter which comprise that exact statement. That your love for me was shown by how much you work or cooperate together after I depart, so to speak. The cooperation. One of Prabhupada's catchphrases or key phrases was, who know? Related to that. Cooperation. Maybe I can read that one. I don't know if I've got it easily available though. I had it. Where is it? Here it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. See if it's down here. I'll read one too, regarding what Sikshastra said first. Prabhupada, so I cannot speak, I am feeling very weak. This is obviously the last month, this is in May 77. I was to go to other places like Chandigarh, but I cancelled the program because the condition of my health is very deteriorating. So I prefer to come to Vrindavan. If death takes place, let it take here. So there's nothing to be said anew. Whatever I have to speak, I have spoken in my books. Now you try to understand it and continue your endeavor. Whether I am present or not present, it doesn't matter. As Krishna is living eternally, similarly, living being also lives eternally. But kirtir yasya sajivati. One who has done service to Lord Krishna lives forever. So you have been taught to serve Krishna, and with Krishna will live eternally. Our life is eternal. A temporary disappearance of this body, it doesn't matter. Body is meant for disappearance. So live forever by serving Krishna. Thank you very much. Here's another one regarding Mother Gopal's statement. Material nature means dissension and disagreement. So if you're having material dissension and disagreement, tissue. Quite likely is the effect of material nature, especially in this Kali Yuga. But for this Krishna conscious movement, its success will depend on agreement. Even though there are varieties of engagements, in the material world there are varieties, but there is no agreement. In this, just like we see in the political world as a typical example, isn't it? Variety is certainly there, but it's very difficult to get agreement, isn't it? In religiosity, the same thing, isn't it? Variety is there, but it's difficult to get a genuine agreement. In every field you find this. In every field. We heard about the Beatles just now. It's just hearing what nightmare George Harrison was going through as a member of the Beatles. Everyone was thinking they're like gods on earth. He was thinking it's like hell. No agreement. Belittling each other, criticizing each other, ignoring each other. Material world. Because Krishna's not in the center. Everyone puts themselves in the center. Individually, collectively. The materialist, without being able to adjust the varieties and the disagreements, makes everything zero eventually, as a Mayavad philosophy or atheism. They cannot come into agreement with variety. But if we keep Krishna in the center, then there will be agreement in variety. This is called unity in diversity. This is one of Prabhupada's repetitive statements. Unity in diversity. I am therefore suggesting that all our men meet in Mayapur every year during the birth anniversary of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with all GBC and senior men present, not just GBC, all GBC and senior men present. We should discuss how to make unity in diversity. But if we fight on account of diversity, then it is simply the material platform. Please try to maintain the philosophy of unity in diversity. That will make our movement successful. One section of men have already gone out. Therefore, we must be very careful to maintain unity in diversity. And remember the story of Aesop's fables of the father of many children with a bundle of sticks. When the father asked the children to break the bundle of sticks wrapped in a bag, none of them could do it. But when they removed the sticks from the bag and tried one by one, the sticks were easily broken. So this is the strength in unity. If we are bunched up, we can never be broken. But when divided, then we can become broken very easily. So that's the idea, that we're individuals. We have been given by the Supreme Lord our various, whatever little things we may have to offer, natures and so on, talents if you want to call it that. And they're not really ours. We've just temporarily, you could say we're identifying with those, or we have those at our disposal to some extent, to use them and to find out how cooperatively, how, just like in a beautiful orchestra, Prabhupada taught this, how beautiful, when everyone's playing their particular instrument, but with the director in the center. So it's like probably give an example of the flower vases. Now I'm sure that, no time is so short. I was looking at the flower vases this morning, and they are beautiful. But Prabhupada was saying that one colored flower is not as beautiful. When there are many varieties of flowers, probably, I only once in my life, when I was doing this for the deities in London, the manor, making the flower vases at one time. And it's real art, balancing the colors, so green and white and pink and different colors to make it look beautiful for Krishna. Very colorful. Very variety is the spice of life. So like that, we're not Mayavadis, we're all individuals. The fact that there may be, because we're not on the transcendental platform, our disagreement may be a little bit material sometimes, but it does show we're not Mayavadis at least. I remember one time one devotee was challenging ISKCON, that you have so many problems in ISKCON. And even Mahavishnu Goswami, the elder Indian sannyasi, not the Namahata Mahavishnu Swami, but Mahavishnu Goswami, he said, you mean you're saying we have many problems in ISKCON, you don't have those problems? No, we don't have those problems. He said, that's because you're dead. Only a dead body has no problems. That's proof that ISKCON is alive. If you have no problems, you're dead. Anyway, that was his reply to that devotee. I don't think they said anything after that. Mm-hmm. These are all fanaticism, Prabhupada says. Now, this is a topic of discussion in 1976. Some of you may have been in Mayapur in 1976 for the Mayapur festival. Yeah. I was there, but I was oblivious to what was going on. I was just a brahmachari enjoying the first trip to India. We didn't know what was going on up there in the clouds, the GBCs and leaders in American mainly, going on about things. There was a lot of this kind of like, discrimination or whatever you want to call it going on there. Prabhupada said, these are all fanaticism. Real unity is in advancing in Krishna consciousness. Kalo nastyeva nastyeva, Prabhupada said. In Kali Yuga, you cannot strictly follow, neither can I strictly follow. If I criticize you, if you criticize me, then we go far from our real life of Krishna consciousness. Nobody can follow properly. Push to Krishna. So it is correct to say that if we're not Krishna conscious, then if it's not the Grihastha problem, it would be some other problem. Prabhupada, yes. Push to Krishna. We'll find something or another to absorb our time with besides Krishna. Prabhupada, no, you should always remember, either Grihastha or Brahmachari or Sannyasi, nobody can strictly follow all the rules and regulations of them. Nobody. In the Kali Yuga, it is not possible. So if I find simply fault with you, and if you find fault with me, then it will be factional, and our real business will be hampered. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was recommended. What did he recommend? Harinam. And Prabhupada made that quite clear in 76, and that's where that statement comes. How does it go? Resolutions, no solutions, dissolutions, or something like that, Prabhupada said. So many resolutions, but no solutions. Same problem carries on. The heart has to change. The problem's in the heart. The problem's not all over there, this one, this guru, that guru, GBC, this temple, that temple. The problem's right in our own heart. That's where the change has to take place. He recommended Harinam, chanting Hare Krishna mantra, should be very rigidly performed, which is common for everyone. Grihastha, Vanaprastha, or Sannyas. They should always chant Hare Krishna mantra. Then everything will be adjusted. The only thing missing, the only thing lacking in one sense, is not enough chanting. Otherwise it is impossible to advance. We shall be complicated with the details only. This is called niyamagraha. I think I've explained. So that was in 76. Well, our time is now 9:03, and there's lots more. Let's just ask you a few more things. What other way can we feel Prabhupada's presence? We've got his books.
Audio recording.
Working together cooperatively. The deity, Srila Prabhupada's presence there. In audio recordings. Now, there's another interesting point. Listening to Srila Prabhupada. Now, there are many wonderful devotees who are followers of Srila Prabhupada, or whatever, wonderful devotees in different groups, Vaishnavas and so on. No doubt. But the unifying factor, as Prabhupada said, after the spiritual master departs, then one should keep him in the center, the secret. So this is one way we can do that. And it was on my mind this morning, and it's been on my mind for a long time, but I never remember to say anything. I've noticed one thing that is lacking, which could be better. There's not enough hearing. There's not enough reading of Prabhupada's books, one. How many hours a day do you read Prabhupada's books? How many of you read more than 1 hour a day? Regularly. How many read more than 2 hours a day regularly? I guess if you haven't read one, you won't read two. I don't know if you're just being humble, or you're not quite sure what I'm saying, or you don't, whatever. But not many devotees are reading much. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 1 minute here. Well, to speak of listening to Prabhupada's lectures and his kirtans. It would be a request. It's only a request, it's not an enforcement. To see if somehow we can have a little bit more of the sound vibration of Srila Prabhupada in this temple. Music playing regularly. Perhaps in the kitchen it's going on. Maybe in the daily room it was going on this morning. But maybe more could be there. In some temples they have Prabhupada playing all the time. Bhajans. And this is the most unifying, purifying to hear Prabhupada. It's nice to hear this one, that one, this one, that one. Not to put that down. But the unifying factor is to bring everyone, because every disciple of Prabhupada has a different angle and says things differently, which is fine. It's nice to see things like that. But to bring that real unity, to avoid the disagreement or the misunderstandings, listen to Prabhupada carefully. Read his books when every opportunity comes. He didn't write these books just to make money or to get book points on the newsletter, to win the marathon. That's not what he wrote the books for. To get famous, get his name in the Guinness Book of Records. I'm sure Prabhupada wasn't thinking of that. Maybe that did go in there, but that's not what he did it for. He had nothing else to do. Mislead people. No. Complete Prabhupada, day and night. Tuned in instrument for Krishna to present this message to the world. So try to take advantage. That's how we associate all my ecstasies, Prabhupada said, are in my books. You read my books. I didn't write them for you distributing, I wrote them for you to read. Take advantage. Not that that's all we do. That's not all we do. I can briefly. And then quotes him. Prabhupada said it's not that we just read, we have to practically apply what we read also. Devotional service. Otherwise, he said, you will not realize. If you don't put it into practice, the realization won't come. Even though the theory is there, we can speak all nice theory, but if we don't practically apply it, the realization will not be there. It's realized with purified senses. Subject matter. Our dakshina to Srila Prabhupada is that we try to dedicate our lives to him. Let me see. One more quote here. Where's that fourth canto quote? Famous quote from the fourth canto Bhagavatam. Here it is. The service of the spiritual master is essential. If there is no chance to serve the spiritual master directly, a devotee should serve him by remembering his instructions. There is no difference between the spiritual master's instructions and the spiritual master himself. In his absence, therefore, his words of direction should be the pride of the disciple. That's our pride. This pride can be dovetailed or channeled in this way. We make the instruction of the spiritual master our life and soul. We live by it. This is how it works. So that's another way we can feel Prabhupada's presence, isn't it? When we connect with his instructions. If one thinks that he is above consulting anyone else, including a spiritual master, he is at once an offender at the lotus feet of the Lord. Such an offender can never go back to Godhead. It is imperative that a serious person accept a bona fide spiritual master in terms of shastric injunctions. Sri Jiva Goswami advised that one not accept a spiritual master in terms of hereditary or customary social or ecclesiastical conventions. One should simply try to find a genuinely qualified spiritual master for actual advancement in spiritual understanding. This is also the verdict of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who, while explaining a verse of Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasayatmika Buddhir, a.k.a. Kurananda, points out that the order of the spiritual master is the life substance of the disciple. The disciple should not consider whether he is going back home, back to Godhead. His first business should be to execute the order of his spiritual master. Thus, a disciple should always meditate on the order of the spiritual master, and that is perfectional meditation. Not only should he meditate upon the order, but he should find out the means by which he can perfectly worship and execute it. That's the purport in the fourth canto of Bhagavatam. Any other ways we can feel Prabhupada's living presence?
All his devotees?
Pardon?
All the devotees?
Yeah, all the devotees, you could say, isn't it? In the association of the devotees, those who are connected to Srila Prabhupada, we can feel his presence, isn't it? We should be able to. Hopefully we're not sitting down and talking just about the weather or the news. Hopefully not. And there's a place for everything, but that shouldn't be a prominent place. It may be a needed place on occasion. But the main thing is that we should be trying to, help each other to become Krishna conscious, following, the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada and the Parampara. What other ways? Is there any other way we can feel Prabhupada's presence?
Listening to his kirtans.
Kirtan is related, of course, to chanting the holy name. Very prominent. We did briefly touch on that just now. Prabhupada said that's our real business, Harinam. In Kirtan, not only is Prabhupada present, but we hear that Narada Muni, Lord, and so many great souls are present. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they may be present during the Kirtan. We may not see them. But that's how we get that feeling of, we would be doing Kirtan if it wasn't for Prabhupada. That's for sure, at least I wouldn't be. We come together and we try to remember. Now the angle there, this is a bit of a detailed angle, but having been involved in this for many years, we try to remember how Prabhupada would like kirtan. Again, it's another angle of putting myself in the center, or putting the Krishna in the center, putting the Acharya in the center. I like. Okay, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in the beginning, that's one way to capture attention. But it's not the actual essential mood of kirtan. It's how Krishna likes. And how do we find out how Krishna likes kirtan? Srila Prabhupada did give a lot of directions on kirtan. I have thousands of quotes. There's a book out by Jayadvaita Maharaj, Kirtan, I don't know what it's called, Prabhupada taught us or something like that. There are many angles. He's given a fairly reasonably balanced, I would say. But many other things are there too. How Prabhupada wanted us to perform kirtan. By remembering that alone, thinking that, would I do this if Prabhupada would I realize that Prabhupada was present? That's the measuring rod of kirtan in many ways. That's our first, on the kirtan standards, that's the first thing. Would we do this if Prabhupada were present now? And it's a good question mark, big one. So, performing kirtan in a way that would be pleasing to Krishna, we find that out through the pure devotee. What pleases Krishna is not necessarily what pleases us. That's some kind of mixed devotion. It might be pure, but it may not be. So we hear from the pure devotees how to perform various kinds of devotional service. Whether it's prasadam, kirtan, whatever, deity worship. What other way? Deity worship. Performing deity worship, we always were, I don't know how it is now, but our understanding in deity worship is we're instruments of Prabhupada. He's actually worshipping the deity, and we're assisting him in the service of the deity. Whether it's Radha Govinda Madhava Krishna Balam Gauri Tai or Radha Paraseshwar, Rukmini Dwarkadesh, Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Radha Shamsundar, whatever deities it is, Prabhupada is called the Lord to be present, and he's engaged us in serving him for his pleasure, so teaching us how to worship the deity for his pleasure. We remember Prabhupada, we try to do it the way that Prabhupada would like. And I'm sure there are many other ways you can remember or feel Prabhupada's personal presence. Offering obeisances to Prabhupada. Anything else you'd like to mention?
I met listening
Yes,
to Srila
Naga?
Prabhupada's singing.
Singing. That was
Srila Prabhupada's kirtan.
kirtan. That's what we were mentioning earlier. Please, let's have some more sound vibration of Srila Prabhupada in the temple. Some piped, whatever you call it, sound, singing, lecture, whatever. So the atmosphere becomes, purified. Those who've got the ability can come forward and volunteer to help arrange it. Don't expect the temple present managers to do everything. Everyone can volunteer to help in different ways to make the atmosphere more pure. Ananga? Pardon? Prasadam? How would you remember Prabhupada in Prasadam? Huh?
We never knew how to cook.
Okay, learning how to cook. We don't just speculate. Maybe we do, but we shouldn't. Prabhupada taught many of his senior lady disciples and male disciples how to cook nicely for Krishna. So like that we can remember, what did Prabhupada like. Even today, I'm sure that I hope there's some feast being cooked. Is there, Lochan, Prabhu?
Yes, Maharaj.
There's someone, it's not you, is it?
No. Mayapur Chandra is.
Okay, Mayapur Chandra. Maybe others are helping?
Yes.
I hope there's a few devotees in there. And what do you think when you cook a feast or Prabhupada's Tirabhav? What are you going to think? I like pizza. We're going to cook pizza, right? I like chips. I'm going to cook chips. I like, what do I like? Ice cream. I'm going to buy some ice cream. I don't have time to make it. I'm going to buy some ice cream. I like bread. Madam Gopal's gone. I can joke about it. Is that what you think? What do we think on Prabhupada's birthday or Tirabha?
Kachori.
Yeah. Mayapur Chandra 3 days ago already was telling me how we will make a choice for Prabhupada.
There we go. That's one thing. It reminds us of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was called Kochora Mukha. When he was a child, he would fill his pockets up with kachoris. He would love kachoris. You think of other things that Prabhupada liked, huh?
Shukta.
Pardon?
Shukta.
Shukta. Nice bitter vegetable, huh?
Sandesh.
Sandesh. Prabhupada loved sandesh.
Simply wonderful.
Huh? Simply wonderful as well.
About the simply wonderful. What is this? And he gave that name. Simply.
You gave the name. It's not that Prabhupada necessarily liked it, but it reminds us of Prabhupada when we think of simply wonderful, because it came from Prabhupada, you know. Devotees concocted this sweet, and then Prabhupada gave the name to it. It's a concoction. It doesn't have a Vedic recipe behind it. What other things?
Puri with sugar.
Huh?
Puri with sugar.
Puri with sugar, oh God. Yeah, well, we don't normally offer that to Prabhupada, but Prabhupada did. At least on one occasion, I think it was in Mexico, they got back from a whole days of preaching programs. Now that's another thing, when you preach, that's the main, in one way, or when you speak, that's like one of the main areas we remember Prabhupada. I mean, God, are we independent of Prabhupada? Hope not. You know, when he got back from these engagements and there was not much to eat, and Prabhupada used to generally take hot milk at night. There was no sweet, so he said, bring some puris and sugar. He had the milk, and he took hot puris, a bowl of sugar, and he put the puris and filled him up with sugar and took this with his milk. Now, we're not recommending everyone to imitate Srila Prabhupada. There are different lessons to be learned. All the various lessons that he taught us. There are many unlimited lessons you can think of. Unlimited. You could go on all day with this, meditating on how to put. Prabhupada is just representing the demigods. He's representing the parampara. He's representing Krishna. He's showing us how to put Krishna in the center. Now here at New Mayapur, another thing which is on my mind, I was talking, like some of us were a month ago, to Guru Gauranga Prabhu at great length, who was one of the earlier devotees in this part of the world, preaching in Prabhupada's mission. He speaks French, he lives in America, and he was in this part mainly in Switzerland, but also in France. And he was, one of the things he was talking about was that it would be so nice to, the generations passing away every week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, another disciple of Prabhupada is passing away, isn't it? Even here in France, because Yamuna wasn't a direct disciple, but Chakrini was, or is, a direct disciple. She passed away a few weeks ago. All over the world, every week you hear another god, brother, or sister passing away. And here at New Mayapur, to establish, as we just heard, that wherever Prabhupada walked becomes a holy tirtha, to establish a few clear tirthas here at New Mayapur, this tree under where Prabhupada spoke, or this spot where he gave a lecture, things like that, and make it known. When devotees come here, they go to see wonderful things like Gopaswami Prabhupada's eco hut, and they go to see the goats and the cows, but it'd be nice if they could also say, this is, see, Prabhupada spoke, and not just you go there and there's like thorns in your feet and brambles all around you, but like make it like a tirtha,
It's part of our master plan.
Okay, so do that. It could, well, dioramas is one thing, but first of all, locate these places accurately and make them, even in Tompkins Square Park in New York, if you go there, it's a public park, it's not ISKCON Park, but there they have a sign on the tree, the Hare Krishna tree, and there's a plaque next to it explaining what the significance of this tree is. It's a preserved tree in the park.
I was in a temple in Montreal just 10 days ago, and they had this garden where Prabhupada sat just nearby the temple, and it was like nobody took care of it for the last 30, 40 years. And now the devotees, they actually revamped the whole little garden, on the side of the temple, and they made a nice, writings, and the chair was where Prabhupada sat. Actually, was the spot where he sat. So they revamped the whole thing. Just a small garden, but this is where Prabhupada actually also came and spoke.
It makes a world of difference to the consciousness. Where devotees can go and chant their japa under the tree, or have, whatever it is, just feel Prabhupada's presence. You can put a little something there, what he said, or whatever it is known. To locate the few places that are known, where you can't, not every single square inch, but obviously special parts where he went. And, this would be an offering to Prabhupada. We're making offerings of words, but this will be a practical offering for the next generation. They say a society flourishes when the elders plant seeds for trees, that is, under whose shade they will never stand. For the next generation, you have to do this. So the legacy is continued. Maintain that standard. It'd be nice. This then will become more clear that this is a tirtha. We have to bring it to the surface. Bring it to the surface. Prabhupada's rooms, this temple, places he went, what he said, tried to do what he said. I was thinking this morning how important it is to do kirtan in this temple room. Probably the most important thing of all, with all the other needed things that go on, meetings, this, that, master plans, but the most important master plan is to increase the kirtan. Everything else is secondary and will not be effective. It can just be a whatever, but more chanting, more chanting. This is the greatest service. More kirtan. It's not that we're saying don't do this, don't do that. We chant while we do it. We chant while we do it. Try to think how we can make this more what Prabhupada would want if he came here. How it would please Prabhupada. To see the buildings nice, to see everything nice and clean and tidy, everywhere. We all know, those who were around at the time, how much Prabhupada would go into devotees' rooms sometimes and point things out. Why is the mess here? Why is that, prasadam, old prasadam over there? Why? Why is that garbage there? Isn't it? You may have had some experience. We had a lot in London. A Prabhupada looking at every detail. Just to help us to wake up. We're born in a culture of ignorance, basically. And we remain in a culture of ignorance as long as we like to do things the way I like it. We don't change. The whole point is to change our consciousness. Not just to change our place or change our partner or change our dress or whatever it is, but change our consciousness. Change the menu. You change many things. Change the outfits. That's going on. Of course it goes on. That's not the solution. Solution is change of heart. And that's what Prabhupada is giving us, the chance to change our hearts. If we want, we all say, I have a solution, some problem. We go externally all the time for solutions, but the real solution is within our heart. It's not this thing, this place, that place. But he's giving us the opportunity for that change of perception to take place. So we see things with Krishna as central more. Anyway, I'll finish there, and we'll hand over to Gopaswami Prabhu. We're now open now for devotees to make offerings. I don't know, some of them, of course, are coming and going. Not possible for everyone to sit here all day. But especially, I guess you've got a list. Some devotees already said they'd like to say something or not.
It's going to be like